So I'd like to call to order the Public Utilities Commission regular meeting for Thursday, September 14th, 2023. May begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, everybody. Is there any public input? I don't see any. Any correspondence?
And then what you have in the flyer.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the regular meeting of August 10th, 2023? So, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Financials. Would you like to start with the financial report?
Yeah,
Brad, if you-
I can give you a couple of comments
Yeah.
on it. You look at page 1, and one thing that jumped out at me, if you noticed, our expenses have been higher a little bit than our revenue.
Yeah.
I can say simply that the main reason for that is we've been paying out on Bergstrom. We haven't been getting any reimbursements from the state yet because the loan hasn't been finalized. So that will turn around in a big way once the loan is done and I put in that first request for multiple, previous payments. Sewer looks like we're doing fine there as far as the surplus. And nothing really jumped out at me on any of the particular items, unless anyone has a question.
What John did.
I've had a couple of residents ask about the large sign over the Bergstrom well.
Yeah.
The Joe Biden infrastructure project.
Yep.
That was their sign they put up.
That's the required sign.
That's the required sign.
Yeah, through the state, because we're
Yeah.
going through the DWSRF program.
Yeah, we always have the sign
Yep.
required. There were a few people who felt like it was overly political.
They
We wanna make
motivated,
sure.
they modified it. We're getting VIL money, and that's the sign they put out. If you go over the bridge over, between exit 11 and 14, you'll see a lot of now the highway projects.
Yeah.
Are also saying something
The
similar.
infrastructure project, or
Yeah.
whatever it's called, okay. All right, any further discussion regarding the financial report? May I have a motion to accept the financial report? Any second? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. So we can go through the invoices, we have them here.
Make a motion. Make a motion that we approve the $214,985.86.
Have a second? And we have a second from Mr. Valente. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. I'd like to make a motion for consideration of the Wright Pierce Amendment number 1 for the SCADA upgrade project for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. So for discussion, what can you tell us there,
Briefly, the amendment is in 2 parts. Originally, when we were looking at the project, we were looking at all the various radio sites we would use. One of which we were going to use as a main repeater because it was so high in town is that Blue Sky antenna up on Spring Hill. Further into the project, we realized that the antenna and equipment that are on there are near capacity structurally. We found out it's pretty expensive to lease space on that tower. And so we had to kind of do some extra work in terms of finding different ways to communicate with the sites back to town hall. So And the other, that's the first part of it. They made the change order in like two parts, a 1A and a 1B. That's basically 1A. So basically the extra work they had to do was do some tabletop, computer related analysis to see where repeater sites might work best, and then verify it in the field. And then there'll be some, changes to the plans in the report. That was the 1A portion of it. That piece totaled $17,928. The second piece, which we label as 1B, has some additional work. Basically, our main system is our Maple Wells communicating with our Eureka tank. The equipment that's in there is pretty old and really not compatible with all the modern PLCs that we're using throughout the rest of the project and what we already have on site in a lot of our stations. So what they're going to do is upgrade to the Allen Bradley and also give us the ability to not just monitor remotely, but also to make control changes remotely. So that's part of it. There was a task one, that was the task one piece. And then the task two was an option to give us the ability to get more controls to be able to make changes remotely at our other water sites. I don't know if I need to make changes or have remote control at every other water site, but this option would, crank that, ability into this. So that particular, the 1B amendment totaled $33,361. So the two pieces added together total $51,289. And this is on top of the original project, which was, we started out many years ago, probably 2018 or 2019 at $120,397. So that's kind of in a nutshell the reason for the changes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When they did their initial study, wouldn't that have been the time to ask them if there was space on the tower to put an antenna? I mean, it doesn't seem unforeseen to me. It seems like it was a simple question. I mean, if you're going to design a whole project based on, I'm going to use this radio tower, and you don't even ask if there's the ability to use the radio tower, I'm not 100% sure how that's the town of Bethel's responsibility.
And part of it is, I know the town was already using that. I thought we just had that option to use it, and I thought we were just dovetailing to use it that site. I was not really aware.
But wouldn't it have been Wright Pierce's? Wouldn't it have been Wright Pierce as the designer of this project to confirm that every part of the project they were planning on using? I mean, there's really nothing unforeseen here to me. They built a design saying, hey, we're going to use this tower, and it would have taken a project engineer 1 hour worth of time to speak to whoever was in charge of the tower to say, yeah, you guys can't use it.
Yeah,
and it's $50,000 to the taxpayers. That seems kind of not right to me. I mean, it would be like me saying, yeah, you can put a well there. The whole basis, and guess what? You can't put a well.
Yeah, and I didn't put the brakes on not using Blue Tower because I knew the town was already using it. I thought we already had access to it.
Again, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the person who designed the plan based on, I mean, was it that you told them they could use it, or did they not check if they could use it?
We told them that was an option to be used. We listed our sites and that was one of them. So they kind of had direction initially that was in play.
But they did nothing before they designed the whole system to confirm that they could use it. It seems a little bit unprofessional on their part to just assume they can use something. It would be like me as a homeowner telling you, yeah, don't worry about my lead pipes, they're fine. I just brush my teeth with it. I know more than you, correct? I mean, you're the water expert, not the radio expert, right? So I don't know. I just feel kind of, I don't know what everyone else's thoughts on it. I mean, I just think it seems kind of.
How long ago did Wright Pierce bid this? Because I know that radio tower was sold recently, and there's been added, funds required by the town of Bethel to use that tower. We've got hit with other fees.
Yeah, we
With
found
that.
out that as well, that it was, tens of thousands in lease, to lease space on that tower. Which again,
Is that over a year? How long?
well,
was
the original project probably started before I got here in 2018. I think we did the agreement back in, I think probably like 2021. I mean, the study was done even
Yeah,
prior to that.
That might have been when we had more control over that tower, Brian. I don't know, but I just know that the towns received alternative bills because it's been sold and.
I get it. I would just like to
Yeah.
see their documentation where they checked out that we could ever use the tower. I mean, if they didn't check to see if they could use the tower, it would seem just a little bit reckless to me to design a whole system based on that.
Well, they took our input that yes, they can, because it was part of the town.
Towns.
We did end up getting a report that indicated there was some capacity on it. So we just went with it. We went forward with it, basically.
So that basically, it's the way I understand it. The town said, we got a tower, it's good to go.
Let's use it. And it's the highest point in town. It made a lot of sense.
They came in with their initial field measurements and the information provided by the EMS director said it's nearly approaching capacity. So they probably felt bait and switched a little bit. We said, it's good, we got space. They found out that it probably won't, and the frequencies are going to conflict. So they had to do additional work. So that's the story.
That's what the extra is.
That's
The extra time spent on doing routing all the paths to get our sites
Right.
back to town hall versus using them at Blue Sky, which is
Yeah.
what they had done back in like 2018.
But I guess the question to Brian's point too is in whatever the original work order was or the original agreement with them, wouldn't this have been included in part of figuring it out? Like they're coming in and they're figuring out to do the initial telemetry to figure it out. Do that, wouldn't that have all been included? Like why are we gonna pay extra
Well,
20 grand? 17.
when they did the initial study,
Yeah.
based on us telling them that was a site that was available to them. They
Right.
did their field study, they did their tabletop study, and the communications worked. And then, right, 2021 or 2022, in that time frame, is when we found out more so that, the extra equipment that the police department, the microwaves they put up,
Okay.
A, used up some of the capacity, B, is potential for interference. And that's when then we said, all right, well, Blue Sky is not going to be a good option for us now going
Right.
forward.
Okay. So in between, we added more.
We had them doing, they've been doing that extra work since for over a year. I'm just now getting, the proposal on this. This is what's involved with us now rerouting from Blue Sky to find Eureka, say, or Chestnut as our repeater sites.
Did we discuss this? I don't recall discussing this at a previous meeting, did we?
Now, this agreement was, this project, we kind of set this project up like many, many years ago.
No, I understand, but, personally, if my son's failing a class, I want to know months in advance rather than the night before we get report cards. I mean, it would have been very helpful for me if 7 months ago, or whenever we started re-engineering it, someone just gave the board a heads up saying, hey, just so you know, guys, this is it. We need to anticipate some, $50,000, whatever the number is going to be.
You're not wrong. Yeah. I mean, and the progress of the project, I haven't been pushing SCADA because of other projects. And now we're getting to the point where we need to move it along.
I'm not throwing stones. I just
No, I
saying
realize.
in the future.
No, you're not wrong.
We work
Right.
better just so we know
Yep.
what's going on. So it's not like an ambush where it's like, oh, what happened?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? We know.
Mhm.
Now, although not directly related to this group, I think we had a similar situation with communications with either the police department or something like that when I was part of the building and site. It seems to me the town doesn't coordinate any of this. That would have been a heads up for you.
That would have been.
And that probably was before 18, before you were here, The town needs to kind of reflect on these things and say,
I mean,
And the town would have gotten something from the siding council saying that the tower was being upgraded with something before.
yeah, I probably needed to push them as to giving me this amendment as soon as we knew we were switching gears, basically.
Yeah.
So without having anything in hand to show you,
I don't think you're a professional in communication. I don't think the police department is a professional in communications. The town needs to have someone who stands up and takes the responsibility for these kind of things and says, I know what the limitations and the capacities are for our town area, even though it's not technically ours. But having said that, the second part here kind of surprised me. We didn't change the controllers that were there all these years.
no,
Now all of a sudden it's a surprise that they're not compatible. That to me is very bothersome.
we can utilize those PLCs. It's gonna get. They're just not in line with the Allen Bradley. So originally it was gonna be. Take what's there, transfer it over to SCADA, and you're just gonna get your monitoring. So if we wanna have now better controls, being able to make an adjustment remotely. It's definitely better to go with the modern Allen Bradley PLCs like we have on all of our other sites.
Well, this is in excess of 40% increase on the original project dollars for these two requests.
We're, and this is because I'm not a plumber or a water expert, were these controls something that just came into light, or they've been around since the start of the project?
Now, the controls are what they've been for however many years.
No, I'm talking about the ones that allow you to make adjustments remotely.
I'm
Just talking about, you said that we can stick with our old controls, or we can upgrade to these where we can make adjustments. Like, I'm assuming if he's home and there's a problem, he doesn't have to drive in, you can go on your phone or something and punch something in and then it fixes it. Is that kind of?
Change your speeds of your wells,
yeah,
or open or close a valve or
Right,
something.
but were those things available prior to this being thought up, or is this new technology? Like,
no, it's not new technology, but I think when we did the original SCADA, it was gonna be for monitoring, alarming, and reporting. And after I got here and I have a SCADA, was familiar with a SCADA system in Norwalk where I was, having the ability to make changes to certain parameters remotely is a good thing.
I don't disagree.
If you want to turn a pump on now, if you only have monitoring, you may see, the tank's dropping, and for some reason the pump's locked in at 70%. If you don't have the remote control ability, you've got to get to the site and then manually change the speed up to 100%.
We have it with Allerton systems.
Yep.
And look.
Yep.
This is the last time I'm gonna say it. I don't wanna beat a dead horse. I just would have liked a heads up saying, by the way, they designed this without the ability to make adjustments from home. Coming from Norwalk, we had this. It's an extra 15,000 and whatever it is. My recommendation to this board is let's do this. And I think everyone on this board is very reasonable and would say, yeah, it makes sense. Well, I'm not very sure with it. So that's the only point I want to make it again.
And when I first got involved and the project was going to be monitoring only, not control, I've been kind of going back and forth. Do we want it? Do we not want it? Are we okay living with just monitoring? So it was probably a more of a recent, change to say, hey, let's give us controls. Let's give us better controls for Maple and Eureka, especially.
But again, I'm not questioning your expertise at all. Just even if it was a question, just bring it to the board and say, hey, look, juggling these, these are the benefits, and then we could say, well, wow, that makes sense to, if it's in the middle of a blizzard, that he could stay home and not risk the town vehicle or something and punch it at its phone and, we're good to go. Sure. That's all. I don't want to dwell on it.
One more question.
Yeah.
This is just for the engineering. What's it gonna cost us to put in all the new controls?
I do have I think their report had a cost estimate on the construction, which I unfortunately, I didn't bring it in. I don't have a number for you, hard and fast.
But we can expect another request for another
I mean, well, no, that's gonna be the design.
multiple digit.
That will be the design contract, basically, at that point. When we go out to bid. What we would have estimated back in 2018 or 19 now, I know is already a lot different. Than the most recent one I've gotten. The equipment they're gonna put in is mostly gonna have the input, output, and the modules that they're gonna need anyway. It's really programming. There's definitely gonna be a little more hardware and a little more installation, wiring and whatnot. But I don't have that difference if we do it or don't do it. I just know it's hard to keep track of the numbers because again, since 2018, 2019, the way construction costs and everything else have just exploded. It's hard to say, hey, yeah, it's an 8% increase. The numbers have been going up like mad.
Okay.
Can you just explain what the materials are that they're saying their materials fee limit? Can you just explain to me?
Yeah, where are you reading that?
It's just under the number 2, the change order 1B. I'm just curious as to, they say we request the contract amendment to be to increase for our time and materials fee. Can you explain to me what materials are engineers using? Again, besides computers and whatever, if they're drawing something on CAD, I don't understand what they mean. It says both of them say their materials fee limits. But like when you go through here, everything is based on time. This time. I just don't understand what they mean.
I'm trying to think of what materials. Yeah, they're not installing it, of course.
Right. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's under here. They have. I guess it's just nickel. Maybe they're talking 271. Maybe it's for printing paper and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, those would really be more expenses, I think. And I'm sorry, Brian, I'm not seeing exactly where it's. Page 4, okay. I think that's probably more of a phrase, time and materials, really more so than any real.
They're just saying it's for their time.
Yeah.
In this situation, there just aren't any materials, it's all time.
Yeah, it's just, it's a phrase that's just, you guys are all familiar. Time and materials, exactly.
Look at their last bill, probably sold out of there.
Well, they do put down meals, tips, vehicle expenses. So they're charging the town for that. Meals and tips.
And mileage.
$210 for the vehicle. Is it in our contract that we buy them dinner? This year, it's like meals and tips. I mean, I would love to do that every time I meet with the client that don't have time.
In a lot of contracts it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it, it's a lot of it. You got another contract. And
So everything they're gonna do is scan that time and material. There's no contract with a definite.
It's not like a lump sum, straight up cost. No, they're giving you their time.
They have no idea how long it's gonna,
Well,
They're for the change.
yeah, they're giving you their estimates.
I know that, but it's, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it can vary
Of course.
a lot.
I presume these are not to exceed moves.
They are, and they'll be back if they get to that point. If they've got a reason for it, I couldn't say what it might be right now.
Yeah, but if we make it not to exceed at the present time, then it's a stopgap.
It's a stop. Yeah, that is.
Then they have to come in, and explain why they need more.
Mhm. And we usually do that. It's not to exceed.
Well, by putting it not to exceed doesn't really help anything. just stop and they come back and get more money, that's all it is.
Well, they gotta come back.
No, if I do
Yeah.
a contract, it says not to exceed X amount of dollars. If I bring it in less than that, it's my benefit. If I max it out, I don't make any more money. It's not to exceed. This is not to exceed, but they can come back and, I can't do that.
It's a lump sum project, that's usually then a
Like a change order.
Yeah, no, but. No,
What you're talking about is the guaranteed maximum price.
Right.
But that would come, they're gonna say it's a change order, so it's outside the scope of our guaranteed maximum price. They're gonna say that we changed the design. These are extra hours from the project, this is what.
And they'll explain why they had to change the design. Like the contractor's gonna explain why he put in for a change order.
Well, there's anything we can do about it. I still want to take a haircut.
Any,
This question, if you want to use Wright Pearson.
that becomes a question.
Absolutely.
That becomes a question,
yeah, that's the problem.
Yes.
That's,
because there aren't that many.
Yeah, we seem to be a cash cow. Every time you turn around,
Yeah.
we're a cash cow.
So, any further discussion on, okay, so, I would take a motion to approve, proposed amendment number 1 for services associated with the Bethel SCADA project in the amount of $51,289.
Second.
And actually I asked for the motion, so maybe.
So.
Second, okay. And, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, old business, sorry, director's report. I'm gonna feel like we should take us to dinner.
Just a couple items. I gave you the mailer that we sent out to not all of our customers. I tried to rule out as many of the newer, I know that they're copper services. So I kind of guesstimated, and I probably overestimated, but that was fine, at about 2,500 customers. So to date, I've gotten about 150 replies, and most people are sending them in on their own. We've also set up some appointments, maybe 15 or so, 20, somewhere in that range. Mostly copper, which is good. Haven't seen any lead. Knock on wood. Galvanized and brass. Galvanized brass and mostly copper. Even some of the older ones, like 60s and 70s, which I thought you might get more galvanized or brass. There, I'm seeing more copper in there. So I guess after the war, they started using copper more. So it's been helpful. They came in a lot that first weekend. I think your update helped out, Dan. And they've been coming in like dribs and drabs, couple, 2-3 a day, maybe, you know, but we were getting a bunch that first week. So it's out there. I'm still getting calls and talking about it. So
When do you cut it off and start going in and doing?
what I'll probably do is maybe ask Dan to send out another reminder, you know, maybe with a thank you to the people that replied. And if you still haven't, there's still time to get us some information. It's one of those where I don't necessarily have to go into every house to try to find it. If I don't know, then it's going to get on the list as an unknown. So that doesn't necessarily help you. It doesn't hurt you. But when it comes time to, if your numbers, it all is going to come down to if your lead numbers exceed the action level. Then you're into a different spot where now you maybe have to replace services. And you'd start out with replacing your lead services. And if you don't know of any lead services, you'd have to start replacing unknowns. Assuming, because they'll assume galvanized with a lead whip or a lead gooseneck. So it's really going to come down to the numbers when it comes down to it. But the other part of this is they're going to have you change where you're collecting your lead and copper samples. So now if you do have an identified lead service, that's going to be one of your lead sample points. So they're almost going to drive you to now collect your samples from lead services, which is then going to drive the lead number going higher, which is then going to drive you having to replace lead services, so. We don't know where it's all gonna fall out, and it's hard to explain to customers, because there's a lot of, what if then scenarios, but. The least amount of lead we find, the better. The other item I have is, Wright Pierce. They do they sponsor like senior design projects every year. So Marius asked me if I would be interested in them sponsoring a project to look at PFAS and potential treatment. So I said, yeah, sure, why not? Because it's really not gonna be any outlay on our part. So the engineer will work with the college senior engineering students to put together a project and come back with a report. So we'll at least get our facility looked at. We'll have it studied. They'll look at alternative treatment techniques, come up with cost estimates, come up with potential site layout. So I thought it was worthwhile. It ended up getting accepted by the UConn engineering students. So they usually run that project between September and April. I know we had some college students from DPW had, I think it was Southern Connecticut, looked at a pedestrian bridge over by the railway. So, it's worth it. I mean, we have the data, we'll give them our data, and then they'll just start a preliminary design for us on PFAS. So I just wanted to report on that. That's it.
Any updates on MIUs for this month? Or how we've done?
I think Kelly was gonna do that.
Yeah.
Okay, it was in the direction report last time, so.
Yeah, Kelly wasn't here, so I reported on it. but
Okay, sounds good.
I think Kelly has the number if you wanna.
Yeah, right now it's around 55. We got done this past month, but we're doing the lead inspections also and high consumption inspections.
Do we have an idea of how many are still out? On service?
By that number, what, 600 and?
No.
There's probably 700 of them out there now.
Yeah.
The list changes as more start to fail.
It's gonna take several months to start putting a dent into it, I think. Because you're gonna replace the ones you know about, but then new ones are gonna show up because they're all basically installed at the same time.
Do we have a large supply of those in stock?
I've got, I think I have about 300 of them right now.
You bought a bunch in July.
Yeah, it's maybe 300, 200, between 200 and 300 I have right now. Yep.
I take a motion to accept the director's report. I'll say that in my motion then. How about I just move to accept the director's report? And we got a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes. So let's go to old business. The PUC capital project status.
Okay, couple of just brief updates. Bergstrom, we're still waiting on the loan agreement to come in from the state, so that's not yet been finalized. Work that's been done in the past month. They did the water main connection out at the street to bring it onto the site. Next week, I think they have the vendor who's gonna fuse that 16-inch plastic pipe and they're gonna start getting that in the ground next week. The sewer force main's been installed into the manhole and all the way back to the rear of the site. Today, the two 40,000 gallon tanks, the backwash source water and the recycle backwash tanks were delivered and the crane has them set. So I think they'll probably continue now with getting them backfilled at this point. They've got some of the piping, the work that's got to get done under the building. They've got some of that excavated, and I think they're going to get going on some of the piping, which then they can then start going on the concrete foundation after that. And of course, next week is the water main will start getting installed. So that's it for Bergstrom.
Is that a pre-engineered building?
Yeah,
It's set on schedule.
it's about they're still going back and forth on the submittal. And I think it's about a 26-month or so lead time. So it doesn't look like a building's getting installed this winter, which I was a little surprised at. So we're probably looking at the building next spring. I can see when we get closer, we'll know, but I can see a winter, you know, shutdown happening, because I don't know how much they're gonna be able to really do in January, February.
Well, just into the winter months, I mean, they shouldn't be pouring any concrete floors or any of that for that, maybe just.
No, they'll get the footings done, you know, now, probably within the next month, give or take. Yeah, they'll get that in before.
Can you verify that? 26 weeks?
I think so. Yeah, which I was a little surprised at. Whether
And it hasn't been released yet for the.
it hasn't been released, so there's probably projects ahead of it. Now, maybe that's the number they got from the vendor. Maybe he's covering himself by giving them an extended time frame, and it comes in less. Remains to be seen. But I've been we had our construction meeting Monday, and I expressed my concern that let's get the submittal completed. You know, they're waiting on information, and I understand they want to get all the information that they need before they're going to release it.
So, normally Monday's construction meeting?
No, it's monthly. It's usually the first, I don't know, I think it's the first Monday of the month.
I had given Tom a call last week before we had all this rain. So I don't think it's affecting anything right now, but there was just a dust storm down there with all the dry weather, and the kids, actually they were young kids on the
Soccer field.
well, they were on the baseball field practicing.
Oh, in the back.
That, and it was just a cloud of dust, and I asked them to look into the contract that they were supposed to have a water wagon there for dust control, so.
They have it swept, they have a skid steer, they're waiting on the sweeper attachment. Water is the other option, calcium chloride, but I don't want to put any chemicals down in that area, so that's kind of off the table.
Either that, or maybe if you can
Well,
coordinate with the public works department, they have a small water tank.
the other thing is the sewer main is in. When the water main is in, activity along that run is really going to come to a stop.
It's swept up.
Correct.
Just be aware of it.
Yep, no, I am.
Because I don't want the health department to shut it down.
And I told them, especially going into the weekend, I'm sure all the soccer games are Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of activity there. You know, there's none during the day. They may have practices there in the evening. But it definitely, with all the rain we just got, it's in a lot better shape.
Probably right there now.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. In the back where they're doing the building, it's a little more money.
Yeah.
But even then, it drained pretty well.
Thank you.
I move we accept the PUC capital project status summary.
Oh,
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Okay, utility supervisor report.
As I said, 55 MIUs have been done. We're all, and I also said we're working on the lead service inspections. Yeah, Kathy's been setting up appointments, and the guy we're splitting between them, and they're going out and taking care of those. Quite a few high consumption complaints, and when the guys go out there, they've been finding leaky toilets and what have you. So there are, the new normal things that are going on. This past month, we've had some communication issues between South Street and the tank. We had some changes made with the antennas, and everything is kind of leveled out with that. We had a couple nights where it was we were getting false communication, and what was happening was that I think it was the same time that it was all happening at once. It was drawing water to fill Boyd's Hill, and it was drawing water to fill the tank. And we're having some communication problems. Well, we got them worked out by changing the antennas. We haven't lost communications. So that's made a big difference. On the sewer side, we had one sewer backup on Chestnut Street, where it's down in the right of way between Chestnut and Topstone. We had that, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, but we caught it quick, and it was a road mass. Well, like, you know, it's down where the brook is, where all those trees are over top of the sewer. We had that taken care of. Pembroke was able to get right into that one. We've had 4 service leaks. Basically Pembroke is done, and it's much cheaper going in with these Vector trucks, sucking down, doing the work without shutting the mains down, and it's worked out pretty well. The new guy that we started just about a month ago is working out very well. Been sending him with Justin, and we're in the treatment side of it, and he's really taken a liking to it. I'm very happy with our choice. I think we've done well. I don't know whether you noticed the town has been out paving, so we've gotten the riser box and all the water boxes and the sewer boxes raised. They did the top side of Hoyts Hill going down to the back to 58. They did Blue Spruce and Brookwood. They did those 2 this week. But other than that, everything's status quo. Everything's going good. Our usage is down. We have noticed that our sewers are down a little bit. We haven't gone really, with the exception of one real bad storm. We've been maintaining between a little over 900 gallons, or 900,000 gallons a day, which is good. So we're really in, we're holding our own. We're doing good.
With respect to the main outside the building here, I know you guys were looking at the issue. Any issue with our main?
No, I think it's all from the building going out.
Okay.
Because it looks like there's 2 lines that goes out. There's one in the Paul's office, and there's another one by the GP doors. There's 2 lines that go out. And it looks as, I think a lot of it's sitting in the laterals, but our line is clear. But I've got Pembroke lined up to come out at the beginning of next week, and I want them to run that line all the way down to Durant.
They can't get out sooner? They can't get out sooner?
Well, I'm trying as soon as they can get to me. But I think the best thing to do is do the laterals first, and I think Greg is planning on tomorrow having somebody to get the laterals going, because our main is moving. It just seems that first one up by the GP room has got a lot of buildup in it. So and like I said, I think he's planning on having that stink tomorrow, I think. But as soon as I get Pembroke out, I got a couple other jobs for him I want him to do for me. We'll get that flush good. But it is flowing. If you look out here by Paul's, there's 2 manholes out here that goes along the sidewalk. But there's a lot of drainage manholes all around the building. So those are the 2 that we have issues with. And our side looks good. It's just that whatever they move, we've got to move it again to get it to go down into the main, right? Or suck it out.
Hopefully nothing went down the sewer line when they did the renovation though.
Yeah, right. Hopefully. Then maybe there's no breaker. No breaker something sitting there.
You know.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Stranger things.
Right.
Where do we stand on Justin's test?
On what?
Isn't Justin take another test?
He's supposed to be this month.
This month
he's supposed to be hitting it one more time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? I move that we accept the utility supervisor's report. Sorry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Your motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. We stand adjourned.